Looking down, you see a long, shining ribbon of water winding through the land. It looks like a green path cutting through the yellow desert. Palm trees sway along its edges. Boats glide slowly across its surface. Farmers bend over rows of crops beside it. This is the Nile River, a thread of life that stretches across the dry land. It has been flowing for thousands of years. People have always lived near it, worked beside it, and depended on it for everything they need. The Nile is more than just a river. It is the reason Egypt exists at all. A long time ago, before there were cars, phones, or even books, the Nile was already there. The Nile is the longest river in the world. It flows through many countries in Africa, but in ancient times, the most famous place it passed through was Egypt. Almost everything in ancient Egypt depended on the Nile. The land around the Nile is desert. It is hot and dry. Not much can grow there, but the Nile brought life. Every year the river would flood. The water would rise and spread over the land. When the water went back down, it left behind dark, rich soil. This soil was perfect for growing food. That is why people lived near the Nile. They grew wheat, barley, and vegetables. The river made farming possible. Ancient Egyptians also used the Nile to travel. They built boats and sailed up and down the river. They used the boats to carry food, stones for building, and other goods. There were no cars or trucks, so the Nile was like a giant road made of water. The river connected people from different towns. It helped them trade and talk to each other. The Nile also gave the Egyptians fish to eat and reeds to make paper. These tall plants, called papyrus, grew along the river. People cut them, pressed them, and dried them to make something like paper. They wrote stories, laws, and records on it. Without the Nile, they could not have done that. The Nile River is home to many animals. One of the most famous is the Nile crocodile. These large reptiles can grow longer than a car and are very strong. They hide in the water and wait for fish, birds, or other animals to come close. Then they snap their jaws shut in one quick bite. Long ago, ancient Egyptians were both afraid of crocodiles and amazed by them. They even had a crocodile god named Sobek. Crocodiles are still found along the river today, though not as many as in the past. Many birds also live near the Nile. Some, like herons and egrets, walk in the shallow water looking for fish. Others, like kingfishers, dive into the river to catch their food. Hippos used to be common in the Nile, too. These huge animals spend most of the day in the water and come out at night to eat grass. Along the banks, you might also see frogs, turtles, and many kinds of fish. The Nile is full of life, from tiny bugs to big animals, all depending on the water to survive. The Nile was not just helpful, it was also important to the Egyptians' beliefs. They thought the river was a gift from the gods. They even had a god of the Nile named Hapi. They believed Hapi caused the floods and helped crops grow. When the flood came each year, they were thankful. A good flood meant good food. A bad flood meant hunger. Many of Egypt's great cities were built along the Nile. One of the most famous is Thebes. Another is Memphis, which was once the capital. Even the pyramids are not far from the Nile. The large stones used to build them were floated on boats down the river. Thousands of years passed. Egypt changed. New rulers came. The Greek king Alexander the Great came to Egypt. Then the Romans ruled. Later, Arab leaders took over. But the Nile stayed important. People still lived near it, used it for farming, and traveled on it. In the 1800s and 1900s, new technology began to change the Nile. Engineers built canals to move water where people needed it. They also built dams. One of the biggest is the Aswan High Dam. It was finished in 1970. It helped stop floods and store water for times when the river is low. It also helped make electricity for homes and schools. But the dam also caused problems. Before the dam, the river brought rich soil during floods. After the dam, the soil stayed behind the wall. Farmers had to use fertilizer to help their crops grow. Also, some fish and animals that lived in the river lost their homes. Still, many people think the dam helped Egypt grow and become stronger. Today, more than 100 million people live in Egypt, and most of them live near the Nile. Big cities like Cairo and Alexandria are along the river. Boats still move up and down the water, carrying goods and people. Farmers still plant crops along the riverbanks. The Nile has watched over Egypt for more than 5,000 years. It has seen the building of pyramids, the rise and fall of kings, and the growth of big cities. It has helped feed people, connect them, and inspire stories and songs. And even now, in the modern world, the Nile is just as important as ever.